Okay, welcome to this basic training video. Get you started here. I want to talk to you about some of the general information regarding the websites, the spokes, and the applications. So, first thing is accessing the application. So, every spoke that we have is contained, the name of the spoke is contained, it prefixes the word Auxilium Group. So it would be, in this particular case, pttracker.auxiliumgroup.com. So whatever's in front of the Auxilium Group, that's the spoke name, that's usually the client name, and that's the number or the name that you need to pay attention to. Note that there's no www, so this is not a worldwide web access. This is a direct connection to the database, so that's where you'll be using that. So when you get that, pttracker.auxiliumgroup.com, up comes the login screen. Now there's an aesthetic issue. There's some things missing on here. I'm not quite sure what they are, but logging in as a developer, it's developer, and then whatever the password happens to be for your account. In this case, we're going to use the password. The forgot password will not work for the developer because there's no email associated with this account. So just contact me if this account is not working. This works ideally in Chrome and Firefox, not Internet Explorer. Edge, maybe some Edge cases, there's some issues there, but ideally we want to be doing this and using the developer tools used in Chrome or Firefox, your choice. So we're simply going to log in here now. And then the primary dashboard is going to be displayed. And that's what you're seeing here right now is the primary dashboard. So what we have on the left-hand side, we have the all users table, and every spoke, in this case PT Tracker, has an all users table. And when they're created from scratch, that's the only thing that they have is the all users table. And this contains a list of all the people who have access to this application, who can log in and view this application. And these are connected to the settings and then the users table here. So this is how we add users to the system. So if I was to add a new user, to give a user an account, I would simply use this, add user, first name, last name, login, can be anything, but it should be unique from this login list. And then an email address. Without one, you can't reset a password. A mobile phone number, ideally, if you have it, and then a default password, say 1234. And then the user would just simply go to the website, go to the spoke, put in their username, their email address, or their login, one of these, and then hit forgot password, and that would trigger a forgot password email. Once you're done adding the users, you can just close this, or if you're just adding one, hit close after saving. When you hit save, it'll automatically close the window. So that's the window being closed. Now that they're in the system, they would need permissions, and they need to belong to certain roles in order to have access to see something. So as this particular case, these three individuals, they're not administrators, so they don't have access to anything. The developer, which is the account we're on right now, it is a system administrator, which is these features here. This is what makes them an administrator. If I was to disable somebody, I would check the box here, and then down the bottom, you can't see it right now, but at the bottom, I'll see if I can move this up. It says deactivate. So that's how you would deactivate an account. Now that account's gone, you'd have to go up here and find them, and then you would see that that account was deactivated. So that's the all users table. Just a quick reference there. So now clicking here or clicking here will bring us back to the home page. We can have many and multiple dashboards. For instance, this is the main page dashboard, but if I was to open up this one, it doesn't look like I have a view dashboard. It could change, so it looks like I'm using that same dashboard here. Do any other ones? There are no other dashboards, so I can have multiple dashboards. We can get into that later. But you have here your list of applications. Some of these applications can be embedded into an environment. What that means is if I go to my contacts, this is what I see. I don't see anything else. There's nothing along this ribbon here. So this is the primary application. If I was to go, say, to my care plan, I see I get a bunch of applications up here. So this is what we call an environment. So the environment is managed in the settings table. So if I go to the settings, and then I go to environment, I can see my care plan. I gave that a label name, and I can call that whatever I want. And then in here, I can attach all of the individual applications to this environment. And then I can do some extra actions down here that allow me to add some buttons and things like that. So that's the environment here. I'm going to click on dashboard. This is the dashboard associated with that. So these are the applications here. And some of the most important things that you would want to know are things like the slice ID for this. Typically, the slice ID is, if you go in, you'll see that every one of these applications has a list all. List all, list all, list all. There are some applications where that list all gets overwritten or renamed, and in that particular case, it's not going to exist, or you're going to have a hard time finding it. But you'd still want to know the primary application ID number. And to get that, it's on the exact, you do it the exact same way. Just pick the application that you want. If it's Messenger, you're going to go advanced, customize the application, and then up in here is going to be that application ID. And that's the primary number that you will be using when you query the table. So if you're running an API that needs to bring back a certain number of records, you're going to use that ID number in order to bring back those records. And the reason you're using that ID number is because that's the topmost slice that can't be modified. Now, I'll give you an example of what that means. So if I was to go into the Messenger again and I was to do the list all, I could look at this report number here. Okay, and all I need to do is back that number 8 down to a 3. So it's always 5 digits lower than the list all. So now I know when I hit this, this is going to be every field in the database. So that's why we're using this lower number. So if I was to stay with 8, and here we are, you are running, say, a query, and your query is looking at the last message. So this is the data that you would pull back, and these are the messages that would be pulled back. But the problem is that if someone comes in here and says hide the column and saves that, now for the most part that data is gone. When you run your query, it's going to come back as null, as that field is no longer available. Why? Because you're using this slice 6.8 instead of 6.3. So it's very important that you always use the uppermost slice whenever you're querying your data. That way you'll always get your results back. And modifying forms, again, that's how you get it, by going into advanced, customizing the application. So when you hear me say customize the application, this is what I'm referring to. And this is where you go in and you look at the fields. To get the field name, you're going to look at this and go to the properties. So this is what you're looking at. All right, and this is the field ID, and it has to be exact. The report label shows in the grid, and the form label shows on the form. And sometimes these are completely different. They may not even be what they say, you know, what you're looking at when you're looking at. So if I say here duration, in the report that might say time, and that could say total duration. Okay, so now I have, so you can see there the total duration, time, and duration. So there's 3 different ones all together. And if I was to save that, this total duration would not be available. It's just going to say time. There it is right there, right? Because in the grid I called it time. So if you're looking for a field called time, you won't be able to find it because it's called duration. So it's a good idea, if you can't find it, to go in and say, okay, well, this is time. How do I find that? Then what you would have to do is you'd have to go in. First thing you'd have to do is look and see what the data is. So it's 3251. So I would look at this and see where that is. 3251, I see that's right here on the form. So I know this is the field I'm looking for. So that's when I would then go into Messenger Advanced, Customize. There's that field. And here it is. So I would just put those back. Okay, so that's some basic navigation of logging in, resetting the passwords, taking a look at the dashboard, and then taking a look at the applications. So again, you're going to be looking for this drop down, and again, that would be for here when you're using an environment. If there's no environment, it's going to be right here. You'll know it by seeing this add record, because if I go to care, that add record's not there. Okay, so that's how I know that this is contained in an environment. All the applications would be at the top, and then that's basically it in a nutshell, and I hope that helps.